President Biden has made coronavirus relief one of his top priorities, but some lawmakers on both sides have said the proposed bill of nearly $2 billion is too much. President Biden pushes forward with more executive action today. This time he focused on health care, signing orders to help expand coverage.
Tonight there is an ongoing debate about whether the president is overusing his executive powers. NewsNation national political correspondent Dean Reynolds with us now live in the newsroom with both sides. Dean?
Joe, with the stroke of his pen today, President Biden added more executive actions to the pile he's already signed since taking office, leading some to question whether he intends to govern without Congress. The new administration has argued that the urgent situation facing the country requires urgent action. The pandemic, it said, won't wait for bipartisanship to magically break out on Capitol Hill. On that score, the president today used executive action to do what he said were repairs on the Affordable Care Act, allowing enrollment to expand back to its original intent as a way to help people who lost their jobs in the pandemic.
There's nothing new that we're doing here other than restoring the Affordable Care Act and restoring the Medicaid to the way it was before Trump became president, which by fiat he changed, made more inaccessible, more expensive, and more difficult for people to qualify for either of those two items, the Affordable Care Act or Medicaid.
In fact, many of the president's executive orders have been about reversing those of his predecessor. So now the U.S. is back in the Paris Climate Accords. The border wall is no longer going up, and the ban on travel from 7 mostly Muslim countries is no more, to name just a few changes.
I'm not initiating any new law, any new aspect of the law. This is going back to what the situation was prior to the president's executive orders.
Senator Tammy Duckworth of Illinois says Republicans are forcing the president's hand.
There's all sorts of things we could be working on legislatively, but again, we can't get anywhere. Republicans remain a block of obstructionists.
And yet during the campaign, then candidate Biden had a different take on what he's doing every working day now as chief executive.
We are a democracy. Some of my Republican friends and some of my Democratic friends even occasionally say, well, if you can't get the votes by executive order, you're going to do something. Things you can't do by executive order unless you're a dictator. We're a democracy. We need consensus.
It was a statement Republican Senate leader Mitch McConnell noted today.
As recently as October, now President Biden said you can't legislate by executive action unless you're a dictator. Well, in 1 week, he signed more than 30 unilateral actions.
The president actually signed some 24 executive orders in his first week, well ahead of Presidents Trump or Obama. George W. Bush and Ronald Reagan didn't sign any in their first week. Even the New York Times said today the president may be overdoing it. And yet White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said the chief executive is relying on lawmakers to pass his $1.9 trillion stimulus package and more. In the meantime, she said he won't ignore people who are hurting.
He also ran with a commitment to take steps immediately to address the pain and suffering that the American people were feeling. And that includes overturning some of the detrimental, harmful, and at times immoral policies and actions of the prior administration.
Now, executive orders are not legislation, and they are not permanent. The next president could come along and undo much of what President Biden is doing now. But in the current polarized political environment, if he wants to get something done quickly, he may have little choice.